the next 25 to 30 years, we're going to become 40 trillion. And in the next 50 to 75 years, we're going to become some 70 trillion, right? These are the conservative estimates, just, taking our growth rate and extrapolating it over the next few years, right? If you look at, let's say, the US is probably at what? 30, 40 trillion, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, 27 is what
27, 30 trillion. Now, US in the next 75 years, from 30 trillion will max go to 54 trillion.
Right.
So my point is that if you're a young person today, it makes so much more sense to ride on the wave that is India. Because India is going to be growing from 3 trillion to 30 trillion to 70 trillion. US is only going to be growing from 30 trillion to 50 trillion, right? So anyone in the US can max expect their life to improve 2x. But in India, we can all expect our lives by the time we all die to improve probably 20x from 3 trillion to 60 trillion, right? And do you need any more conviction in India than just seeing the rise of India? China's growth has slowed down massively, right? China's at 12 trillion, I believe, right? And 12, 13 trillion. You can correct my numbers if anyone wants to correct my numbers.
I usually well, I think we would not confuse them with too many numbers, but you're right. Where the growth story for India is headed as compared to the US has a very minimal upside, and the same for Europe. Europe is growing at 1 to 1.5% a year, while we're doing.
Europe is in fact degrowing. Some of the countries are degrowing.
Absolutely. So coming back to your pet project, tell us a bit more about Masters Union.
Yeah. Vansh, we went to high school together, right? And thereafter, when I went to college, I realized that I was paying almost, and I did not get a scholarship, right? I was not as bright as some of my other friends, and I did not get a scholarship. I paid almost, 1.5, 2 crore rupees for an undergraduate degree from a college in the US.
Right.
Almost 2 crores, I would think, if you add housing and travel and everything, right?
Information, sorry to interrupt you, but today is close to 4 crores.
Because okay.
It's 3.8 approximately.
There you go. Okay, let's say 4 crores, right? Yeah. Now that's a lot of money. And if you look at the kind of ROI I got, most of the ROI I got from my college experience was through the friends I made, was through the network I created, was through the activities I did, the clubs that I was a part of, and very little ROI or very little benefit to me came from the classes that I attended. To be very honest, even in a college like Penn or Wharton, I slept through probably 20-25% of my classes. I'm not even lying, right? 20-25% conservative estimate. Another 20-25% classes, the teacher had a very strong accent, which I was not able to understand. And things went whoosh above my head, right? Another 20-25% classes I wasn't interested in, right? Like, for example, my accounting class, which is a very important class if you're studying business, I was dozing off like nobody's business, right? And again, this is Wharton that I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
10% classes, I didn't care, right? There was a class called Control Systems, which was teaching control systems the way it was taught in the 70s. Right. I used to sleep through that, right? Maybe there were 5% of classes, right, where I genuinely found some benefit to me. There was a class by Adam Grant. There was a class by Peter Fader, a negotiations class. These were the couple of classes where I thought I actually got some benefit. The rest, 90%, 95% classes, I got zero benefit, right? And I realized that I spent 2 crores and now 4 crores.
Yeah, no, it does pinch. Imagine paying 2 lakhs for a concert that never happens.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. The thing is, we don't hold our colleges to a very high standard. We say, chalo, degree mil raha hai, job mil raha hai, we are happy. We're not saying that, hey, I'm not learning anything in class. Why are you making me and forcing me to sit in class, putting 75% minimum attendance, this, that, all of that, right? I feel that's almost like killing the student creativity. It's killing the student motivation.
Right.
So I just wanted to build a college where students don't sleep in class. Honestly, that was the beginning, right? And then, of course, the idea sort of matured a little bit more and more and more. And what we realized is the best way to teach business, since we are a business school, right, is by getting students to actually build small businesses. No, don't teach them accounting, don't teach them marketing, don't fit them in a classroom, 62 a classroom, don't take a test at the end of the midterm, and then, don't take a final exam at the end of the term. One day before the exam, people will study. One day after the exam, people will forget everything. Don't go down that road. just build a business. As you are building a business, you will make mistakes. You will make some revenue. You will have to make your profit and loss account. You will have to learn accounting by yourself. You will have to run some marketing campaigns, right? You'll have to build a branding for yourself. All of
Right.
those things will happen by itself, right? You will not have to take attendance. People will want to do it because they want to build a business, right?
They need to be there.
I mean, think about it. Don't you think like both of us built businesses, right? Don't you think we learned business by actually building the business and not from the business school?
And the younger we made mistakes, the lower the stakes. So all the mistakes we made between 20 and 23 were affordable, but if we mess up maybe now, it'll cost a lot more. So the sooner you start, the better. And this is a very student-centric approach. I would love to know some success stories that came out of this.
I have so many of them. Let me tell you 2, 3 that come to my mind straight away. So first is a girl called Yukta. Okay. You guys can all find her on LinkedIn as well. Okay. In fact, Yash, once I'll send you the entire, like the list, but I'll send you Yukta's LinkedIn profile. You should share it with the students. So she came to Masters Union and she never used to attend classes, workshops, etc. We hardly have any, but jo hoti bhi thi, usme bhi nahi aati thi. Because the entire time she was building a Golgappa franchise called Solgappa. Okay. She said that all the Golgappa chains, all these Golgappa stalls that you have in markets, they're so unhygienic. I'm just going to make a Subway-like outlet, but selling Golgappas. Generally, a Golgappa per plate is like 15 rupees, 30 rupees, 40 rupees. Her Golgappas were like $200. Okay. But they were incredibly clean. They came in great flavors. They were unique. They were presented on a nice plate. Aapka haath aise, matlab, you know, it wouldn't get wet when you're actually taking it. It won't break in your hand. You know, the shells would be freshly made and not 3 din purane. They will not be soggy. So she took the oldest business in the book, which is a Golgappa wala, and she put her spin on it. Right? Today she runs, I think, 6, 7 Golgappa stalls, Subway-like stalls, all across Gurgaon. Right? And just building that business has been her MBA.
Yeah, and the profit margin is insane because the cost of ingredients stay the same. Everything stays the same. It's just that you've taken a different view on the same business model.
Absolutely. And I mean, my point is, today she wants to apply for a job at Zomato. Okay, she's running a business. It's running automatically, right? And while she makes money, it's not a lot, right? It's a small business. Yeah. But she really wants to work at Zomato. So when she applies to Zomato for a job, she does not send her CV. She sends them a link to her franchise website. And she's like, hey, I built this. Do you want to hire me? And then for Zomato, it's such an easy decision. Why would they hire some MBA student with a CV? Yeah. They would obviously hire her because she's been there, done that, you know. And now I think she might be joining very soon. Swiggy, actually, not Zomato.
Okay. Oh, and wonderful.
Just an example, right, of, you know, how building a business from scratch. I mean, she learned amazing branding. You should check out her branding. It's very beautifully done. She built the entire model for financial model because she had to raise a small loan from banks. So she had to submit her P&L. She had to submit her income expenditure. She had to submit her balance sheet. So she learned to make that all by herself.
No, she's truly ready for life as a business person after doing all of this. So she's done the.
She had to build her own website. She had to build her own software to manage the inventory. You know,
right. Who in this audience, Pratham, would you suggest to that, hey, entrepreneurship isn't for you? Who would be that student?
Yeah, see, it's, you know, everyone here is 16, 17, 18 years old, right? If I'm not wrong.
Absolutely.
I think at that stage, everyone has a lot of energy. Everyone has big dreams for themselves. So for sure, anybody can become an entrepreneur. Anybody, absolutely. I have seen students here who were so damn sure that they only want to do a job. But as soon as they taste a little bit of entrepreneurship, it's like opium. It's like a drug. It gets onto them, right? And then they can never unsee, unhear it. They want to become entrepreneurs, right? So I think entrepreneurship was for anybody. And if you think about it, once before 1900s, before the Industrial Revolution, there was no concept of companies. There was no concept of multinationals. There was no concept of firms and partnerships. Everyone was an entrepreneur.
You were either a laborer, worker, or an entrepreneur.
Exactly. Basically, right?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody had, like, even as a laborer, you had to be entrepreneurial
Yeah.
Because you could get thrown out at any time. You don't have any labor laws protecting you.
Yeah.
You know.
So, okay, great. No, this is right. So now these students who feel that maybe they're not naturally cut out for entrepreneurship and they need to work on themselves because it's worth a shot. What are the skills and the personality traits they should primarily focus on?
I think it's not different. I mean, the skills that are required to do a job versus the skills that are required to do entrepreneurship or start your own business, not that different. I mean, I think entrepreneurship is just a life skill. It's like walking, it's like running. Like you can't, I mean, everybody's born with it. But if you have to really pinpoint things that help you excel in entrepreneurship, anybody can become an entrepreneur. I mean, that's, but if you really want to excel, I would say three things, right? First is, are you able to get other people excited about your idea? Right. So when I'm speaking, I am modulating my voice. I'm talking with my entire body. You can probably see a little bit of passion in the way I'm speaking, right?
I think we can all see a lot of passion, and we're already sold that you're doing something that is great because you're so excited about it. So that makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference. So early on in the business, right, when you don't have money, when you don't have a brand, you only have yourself, right? And so I think that's the only way you can attract good investors. That's the only way you can attract good employees. That's the only way you can attract customers who are ready to take a bet on you without you having a track record to prove. So I think first skill is, can you get other people excited about your idea, whatever that idea might be? And at the end of the day, that's basically sales, right? So the first thing is be a great salesman,
pitching it well,
communicator. Yeah. I think second is just this sense of discipline, right? I think in Dune School where we were, Vansh, we were ingrained with a sense of discipline, right? You have to wake up at this time. You have to sleep at this time. You have to play sports at this time. If you are 1 minute late, you have to do this punishment. If your bed is not ironed properly, if there's a slight crease on your rajai, you're dead, right? If your shoes are not polished, you're dead. So I think there's a certain sense of responsibility. There's a certain sense of regiment that was ingrained in us, right? And I think that as an entrepreneur is very necessary because you have to hold yourself responsible. There's no one else telling you कि ये काम करो. There is no one else above me telling me कि ये deadline है. You have to assign deadlines to yourself,
right?
And then hold yourself accountable, which is a very hard thing to do.
It is the toughest thing to do, self-discipline. We've become so used to someone telling us what to do. When we get that freedom, sometimes you just want to laze around and take it easy. And so I think maybe the students here could start by restricting screen time. Do the toughest thing. If you spend 1 hour a day on Instagram or other social media, make it 15 minutes and see how long you can go that way. Yeah.
And I think the final thing, the third thing is a deep sense of empathy, right? And once you'll have to help me to explain this better. But, when you're selling a product to somebody, you have to really put yourself in your customer's shoes, right? You have to really think from the other person's perspective. You will always believe that your product is the best, but your customers might not, right? So thinking from the customer's point of view, what his or her options are, what his or her priorities are in life, what his or her mindset is. I think to be able to put yourself in other shoes, that's also almost a skill. A lot of people don't have that. They think, I am the one, I'm the full source of truth. I am right. Everybody listen to me.
Absolutely. No, I think absolutely. Apple has done this beautifully. You go to the customer's pain point, right? What Masters Union is also doing, or let's say what Mindler did with the psychometric assessment to begin with, was to simply solve for a pain point that existed for a student. Students are paying this absurd sum of money, like you said, for classes which only inspire them to sleep through it. And similarly, they were lost about which subjects to choose, what course to pick up, and we had the assessment to solve for that. So yeah, the pain point, how are they feeling, as opposed to feeling that I will tell you what is good for you. So empathy, that's very beautifully put, these three points, Pratham.
Yeah.
And we all face setbacks. So would you like to talk a little bit about the setbacks you've faced in this journey?
I think of running Masters Union or running any business like a video game, right? In a video game, you're always going to fall in that ditch, right? But the good thing is that you have unlimited lives. So you can come back up and you can start the game again, right? So whenever something wrong happens, you have to believe that in the larger scheme of things, failing has actually taught you something that will help you graduate to the next level, right? When I don't know if you played Mario as a kid, right? Like
I think we've all, yes.
there is no one in the world that has probably cleared Mario in one go, right? You have to die a couple of times through those mushrooms like jumping on you, or you have to fall in that ditch. Only then do you learn how to cross it. Then you maybe make the mistake again, third time also, fourth time also, fifth time you'll finally like find a way to get through.
Right.
So I think entrepreneurship is just like that. Setbacks so many times, I mean, I think you and I have had so many conversations about my setbacks. But it's like hiring the wrong person. Sometimes I've hired people who have completely killed the business. And I've, I think repeated that mistake many times over. And I think finally I've learned some lessons. But still every now and then I feel like I made a wrong decision. Starting a wrong business. I think my first two businesses failed miserably. I don't know if you remember Venture Pact. I think very early on in my life, we must have spoken at that time.
Yes.
I started a business that completely failed miserably, and I lost a lot of money on it. You might even remember Neta app. I think we connected around that, right?
I do. I think that created a lot of buzz in the country. It was a great idea.
It was a great idea.
Share it with everyone briefly.
Yeah, it was a great idea. Everyone was talking about it. We had great user base, but that also failed, right? Because it wasn't able to make money. So great idea, great marketing, great traction, but no money, right? And so finally, the business that I'm building now, is after having learned from a lot of my failures. Okay, don't repeat this mistake. Don't repeat this mistake. So I think without failure, you cannot find success. Like, I mean, if you're thinking that, it'll be a smooth ride, you'll find the princess at the end of the tunnel. It's not going to happen in one go.
I like how you said princess instead of light at the end of the tunnel. I know where your head's at. So there's a lot of positivity that you need to get through these lows and setbacks. So what is your source of this enthusiasm and positivity where you can dip right back into it to feel recharged again?
I think if you are chasing a clear mission, right? So at Masters Union, my mission is very clear that I want to build a global top 10 university / business school, right? Everyone in my team knows what the vision and what the mission is.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, I don't know if I could show you, but the background screen of my phone also says top 10 in 5 years, right? It's just everywhere ingrained in my heart. Now, because of that, every day in the morning when I wake up, I realize that that's the mission that I'm after. And that just energizes me. So even though we are sitting at the end of the week and it's Saturday evening, I'm able to bring in a lot of energy because that mission truly is an exciting one, right? And the closer you get to your goal, the stronger your conviction and excitement becomes. It's just I think human hormones so I think if you have a clear vision, you have a very convincing mission, you don't have to look for a source of inspiration beyond that. You'll wake up excited and positive.
Yeah. So for all of the students here who are, I've heard you learn from you about entrepreneurship. We haven't spoken about the Masters Union undergraduate program. How is that different or enticing in any way?
So, I mean, I learned a lot of lessons about how not to teach and how to teach. And my biggest learning, as I mentioned, is that the best way to learn business is to build a business, right? However, there are two more things you need on top of it. You need a little bit of guidance, right? Okay. And you need a lot of mentorship, right? Okay. So you need, before you start a business, you need some guidance that, this is the kind of business you should build. This is how you should build it. These are the mistakes you should not make. And then as you're building the business, you need someone to handhold you, right? As a mentor, as a board, to take you through that journey, keep you motivated, tell you about the vision, tell you about how to set up the company, who to hire, who not to hire, all of those things, like guardrails. So the Masters Union undergraduate program basically helps you learn business by building 4 or 5 small businesses through the 4 years, right? And so you will have classes, you will have courses, but all those classes and courses are meant to help you run businesses better, the ones that you're running. So for example, in the first year, students have to build a dropshipping e-commerce business. So dropshipping is basically it's a term I will not get into, but in year one, everybody has to build an e-commerce business. Okay. In teams of 5. So someone becomes a CEO, someone becomes a CFO, someone becomes a CMO, someone becomes a CP. Okay. Right. Now, because of that, students now have a target that by the end of the year, they have to reach 10 lakh in revenue or 20 lakh in revenue. Now, there will be a class.
Could I pause you? There's something suddenly changed with your mic setting.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Did you lose me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that, at Masters Union in year one, everybody has to build an e-commerce business, right? And there are courses and classes that help you run that business better. So there'll be a class on legal studies, which will help you actually incorporate your business. There'll be a class on finance and fintech that will actually help you create your own, payment gateways and make sure the money is flowing the right way and make sure you're able to completely manage the accounting properly so that you can run that e-commerce business better, right? You're not being taught accounting like if X is equal to Y, then what is AB equal to, hypothetically, we don't teach. I think that's the core difference. And so year one, you build a dropshipping business. Year two, you build a YouTube business. Year three, you build a Kickstarter. Year four, you build a cloud kitchen business. So each year, you basically are running a new business.
And how to register your trademark, get your IP in order, everything.
Everything is taught, right? But it's taught because you're building that business. And then it makes a lot more sense than just learning something without knowing where to apply it. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember in class 12, we had to do that dy dx, integration and derivatives and all of that.
I fortunately don't remember that.
I'm glad. Neither do I. But the thing is that we were taught all of those things, but nobody told us where to apply them, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as the exam finished, we forgot what dy dx is. We forgot what organic chemistry is because nobody told us what CH3 plus O2 is equal to CH3OH. Why do I need that in life? Right? So that's essentially
completely application based. And the last question on this front is that for the students who may be interested, how do you look at them differently? What are the acceptance criteria that you look at?
We have our own entrance exam, which is not even an exam. It's actually a game that you have to play online, right? It's a game you have to play with other applicants. So you're teamed up in groups of 4 or 5, and then you have to solve essentially an online puzzle. Okay. And we record you while you solve the puzzle. And we try to understand how you're thinking about the puzzle, how you work with other people. Are you a loner or can you work well in a team? How are you communicating with your friends? Do you have a lot of ego or are you able to look beyond yourself? Are you able to think through the problem in a structured way or are you just jumping to conclusions, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not an exam at the end of which you will get a score, right? But as you do that exam, we'll be observing you and we'll be trying to figure out whether you're the right fit for Masters Union, right?
Sounds like a psychological evaluation as well.
Exactly. Right? Because see, most entrance exams like IIT, JEE, IP MAT, all of them, CUET, they are testing your knowledge.
Right? Or maybe your memory to an
extent. Your memory, right? How much you know. Yeah. But how much you know is not a predictor of your success. Right? How much you know basically shows how much time you have spent learning something or how much money you had to buy how many books, right? That's why rich people automatically will do better in SAT because they had access to more expensive books, right? So that is not a level playing field for everybody, right? But this evaluation does not test your memory. It does not test your knowledge. It tests how well you're able to think and apply.
Wonderful. And I'm sure this is unique and nobody else does this. Brilliant, Pratham. Before we open the chat for questions, do you recommend any books, podcasts that these students should be looking at?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone has their own, interests, right? And I think entrepreneurship is something that can stem from a psychological book that you read, right? It can stem from some fiction, non-fiction book that you read. It can stem from a story about, I don't know, Greek myths, so the inspiration for your startup, the inspiration for your company can come from anywhere. And so I would not suggest a specific genre or a specific author. But I would suggest that you should always be hungry for knowledge, right? So pick up any book, but do pick up a book, right? Pick up any podcast, but do pick up a podcast. Like, I'll give you an example of my sister. You know, when she started, right after her college, she used to really follow this yoga podcast, nothing to do with entrepreneurship, right? It was basically a podcast where, the two people would discuss like the details of, specific asanas, etc. And she got so inspired by that that she ended up opening her own yoga studio. So a
Right.
yoga podcast led her to building her own yoga studio.
Because
You
of
know,
curiosity and then willing to take the risk, openness to new ideas.
Exactly. So like, it did not come from an entrepreneurship podcast.
Right.
It came from a yoga podcast. So whatever it is, yeah, I mean, like,
To be on the lookout, I think could be
just like have an open mind, read, listen.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mansi, could we open the chat and take a few questions now?
Yes, for all the interns out there, we're opening the chat. We'll keep it on and off. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Once we'll pick up a few and wow. That was a lot in a very like little span of time. Once maybe you can identify, even I can help you with that.
Sure, absolutely. I know it's not your industry, Pratham, but do you have a view on the healthcare industry for an entrepreneur to get into?
I mean, I have no idea about healthcare, but one thing I would say is that I think there are a lot many more people getting sick now than a few years ago. So definitely a great market to be in.
Yeah. I also know that the mental health industry is booming. There's one of our juniors from school, Kanishk. He started something called Sukoon, and it's already raised millions of dollars in funding. It's Gurgaon based. A lot happening on the mental health front. And there's a lot of competition in companies like PharmEasy, that space too. So yes, Mansi, you could pick the next question.
So there is one which is, it's like a long question, but like, how do you start as an entrepreneur? What kind of education background do you recommend?
There is absolutely no specific educational background that I recommend for entrepreneurship, right? I have entrepreneurial friends who are engineers. I have very successful founder friends who probably studied philosophy or psychology. There is absolutely no one specific educational qualification that better prepares you for entrepreneurship for sure. One thing I would suggest though is, don't leave math and STEM, science very early in your career. Like at least 12th tak to karna chahiye is my strong recommendation. I know some people get very scared of math in class 11, class 12. So as soon as they get the option to drop it, they do. But I would just recommend that keep math and science close to you at least till class 12.
I think that's something we promote generally anyway.
I would say not necessarily science. Science we always recommend till grade 10, but math absolutely with you, certainly to keep it. So further to the way you spoke about empathy when you're building a product, there's someone who wants to know what are the 3 most important habits to be a successful entrepreneur that you apply to yourself in your daily life. One of them, of course, you've already mentioned is self-discipline.
I think I think entrepreneurs have to really do a lot of research to keep themselves updated about their industry. And I feel that because we get so busy in our daily lives, managing teams, getting revenue, managing customers, that we forget about our own learning, right? So I think the most successful founders probably spend 20-30% of their time just updating themselves, learning, reading. And I would like to do more, which I'm not able to because I'm genuinely very busy. But I think that if I can find some time to, really read and keep myself updated, I would become a much better entrepreneur. So I think that's one thing. Don't never stop learning. The second is that you should talk to your customers a lot. You should not sit in your ivory towers away from your customers, just delegating work and never really going to the grassroots level yourself. I think talking to customers yourself in the early stages of the company is incredibly important, of course. But in the later stages of the company, it becomes even more important because by definition, you just get further away. So you have to make more of an effort to get closer.
I could also maybe sort of partially reframe that for the youngsters that don't get arrogant at any point through this journey. because that's the start of a disconnect with your audience. So as a young person, whatever you embark on and the successes you get initially, do not take that arrogantly. Stay humble, stay curious, stay a hungry learner is, I think, what Pratham's trying to put across to you.
Absolutely.
Another question that I actually read, and because you mentioned about, networking, the student asked, how do you network as a budding entrepreneur, as a student? Because you begin in school. I know
Yeah.
you all said you all were from similar backgrounds, but for people who don't have that kind of opportunity where there is, let's say, some kind of discipline, you attend school, you leave school, and like that's about it. Like, what kind of opportunities or spaces should they look forward to where they can
Yeah.
network with people, like-minded people or similar age people?
There are two things. Okay. One thing is for introverts, and one thing is for people who are comfortable networking, extroverted people, right? So let's talk about the extroverted people who are comfortable, going, saying hi to completely strange folks. Okay. So if you are one of those people, then, go online and find out where are some of the entrepreneurship related events happening in your city. And if you're in Delhi or Bangalore or Bombay or Pune or Hyderabad, there is no dearth of events happening. Probably there's an event happening right now, right? So go to such events, physical events, and just go up to people and say, hi, my name is Pratham, and I would love to just talk to you. And, and nobody ever says, no, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody ever says that. No one's ever rude, believe me, if you approach someone nicely. So if you're extroverted, please subscribe to those lists where you can find, where are the events happening in your city. That's number one. But if you're introverted, right, if you're not extroverted, much like me, then LinkedIn is your best friend. Okay. Even today, every day before I go to sleep, I would definitely message 5 people on LinkedIn, completely cold contacts, asking them some specific question or reaching out to them with something that I need, or just like, connecting with them to, meet over coffee or something. Even today, out of those 5 people that I reach out to, 2 completely ignore me. Okay. But 3 end up responding. Out of the 3 that respond to me, 1 ends up giving me a negative response. Yeah, I'm busy or whatever. But the 2 that give me a positive response, over a week, that becomes almost 10, 12 people. That's solid connections that I've made, right?
Absolutely. Minimal effort.
Minimal effort. And, a lot of my initial customers from my previous business and a lot of the students and parents I met through this outreach. A lot of the recruiters at Masters Union, I was able to crack because of this outreach, right?
No, this is absolutely correct in the sense that we spend so much time during our profile building workshops that we talk to students to focus on LinkedIn. It's a wonderful platform. A lot of good things happen, opportunities come up. And like you said, we would never say no to somebody who's young. We're open to talking, open to a conversation. And I think this is wonderful advice. Mansi, I think that's our time. So do you have anything last questions for Pratham? I saw one remark that there's a gentleman from Gujarat who's been following Masters Union very closely. All praises for the work you do. Wharton is also his dream school. So that's
Awesome.
wonderful. And if there's a way he can reach you or your team, you could always let us know.
No, absolutely. LinkedIn is great. I mean, I try to respond to all messages on LinkedIn. So if there's anything I can do and help with, please feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'll make sure I respond.
Just one last question. I'm super sorry if for stretching this for 2 more minutes,
Please.
but right now you said, you have been stretching yourself thin. There is a student who's asked us, like, they're doing this internship, they're in school. How is it that you manage time to upskill yourself, knowing that you have so many things to do? You have professional commitments, you have personal commitments, but then how do you upskill yourself, or how do you keep learning, or how do you create time to do that?
It's all about prioritizing. So I have a Google Calendar. Okay. In Google Calendar, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 4 to 6 p.m. is blocked. Okay. No one in my team can book me a meeting at that time. So I have an EA and I've instructed him that, hey, listen, 4 to 6 p.m., Monday, Wednesday, Friday, don't bother me. Don't set up any meetings. Don't set up any travel. Don't set up any review, feedback meetings, anything like that. That's my time, 6 hours a week, right? Sometimes, to be very honest, I'm not very disciplined about it. Sometimes I end up, doing something or the other. Maybe watch like for example, last week I was watching the game, the World Cup. And I think next week also I'll probably end up diluting that time, but at least, blocking some time on your calendar. I think that way you can keep yourself accountable and disciplined. But otherwise, it's very hard. It's very hard.
So some me time, some dedicated time where and it comes back to what you said about LinkedIn, and this is also to be curious and humble, right? You realize that there's so much potential to grow and learn despite where you've reached at such a young age. There are very few people like you out there, but you're still doing that, and you're not ashamed if somebody does not respond to you on LinkedIn. So be it, but you're going to keep at it. And I think that's a great takeaway. Thank you so much, Pratham, you've been very insightful for your time and for everything that you've shared with us. And we hope that a lot more students consider Masters Union, especially for the undergraduate course, because it sounds brilliant.
No, thank you so much for having me, Mansi and Vansh. This has been great, and some really interesting questions. They don't seem like 17, 18-year-olds, Vansh. I think you lied to me.
Just to let you know, we've been flooded on Instagram and mails with questions because we've kept the chat off. Because if we keep it on, so there are more questions that are coming in. But I think we've had you answer quite a few of them. And thank you so much for removing time for this session. I think it's been very insightful. I think there's always a direct relationship between how many questions the student is asking and how successful a masterclass has gone. Every time they ask more questions, we know that they've been really interactive and they've been very excited to hear what the mentor has been saying. Thank you so much for removing time for these interns.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and looking forward to coming back.
Have a fun Saturday evening. We've kept you too long. Yeah.
No, not at all. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Okay. I hope this was a great masterclass for you all. We will move on to a few announcements and a few rewards that, of course, we have to talk about. But before I do that, I want to quickly just open the chat. I know I'm going to get a lot of questions, but how do we all feel about today's masterclass? Let's quickly say it in one word before I go ahead and... Okay. Amazing. Wow. That's a lot of amazing, awesome, insightful, great. Lovely. So let's quickly get started with, of course, our rewards and prizes for this week. We know that the leaderboard has been on a pause because all our batches for the Mindlo internship program have been closed, but fret not. Like we said, right in your orientation, the second part of the Navigate program is the scholarship and talent hunt. So going forward in a few days, you'll also be able to tell your friends about the scholarship and talent hunt. And at the end of it is when we decide who is going to be the ultimate winner, winning the iPad, the Kindle, the AirPods, and so many other rewards. But for all the winners who did a great assignment for Skills of the Future, I would like to congratulate them. Deepika, Sonakshi, Zara, Sohani, Isha, and Abia, you all did a great Skills of the Future job. Even Shilpa saw a few of them and was very, happy to see that you all were able to take away so much from the session. So congratulations to all of you. As today is Saturday, you will all get your vouchers by Monday or Tuesday because tomorrow, unfortunately, is not working for us. I hope you all will give us that little bit of time. For the STEAM scope assignment that we had, we would like to congratulate Vrinda, Mahi, Hadika, Pragya, Sai, Soumya, and Yug. Your assignments were also very well researched, very well incited. So it was great that you all put in that much effort. It's nice to see that you all take away so much from the session and also make sure that it adds to your profile or let's say your interest section. Talking about today's masterclass, we want you to think of, let's say, any idea, any business idea that you may have thought of before or during the session, and we want you to create a 2-minute pitch about it, right? You can be as creative as possible as you want. Again, we know that there is a deadline, so go ahead and work on it as soon as possible, because I know there could be 10 ideas and to kind of shortlist it into even 2 or 3 is going to take a lot of time. So go ahead and get started. But trust me, this is a very exciting assignment. We get very well thought ideas. So excited to see what you all have for this masterclass. For people who haven't already done the assessment, please make sure you do it. Maybe you will see if entrepreneurship is something based on your aptitude. So it never hurts to check, right? Other than this, our next masterclass is of course going to be mastering time management and exam study strategies. This is of course going to be taken by Parikshit. He is going to give a lot of secret tactics to kind of see how is it that you can best plan. I would say don't miss out on this session. If any of your friends are also interns, I would make sure to get them to join that session as well. I am hoping everyone already follows us on Instagram. If you don't already, please do. I think a lot of y'all are already on the WhatsApp community channel and have already downloaded the session. So with that, I would like to conclude today's session. I know it's ending early, but I think it has been very impactful and very informative. So with that, I wish you a happy Saturday. I hope tomorrow is a great Sunday for you all. Maybe take tomorrow's time to do the assessment if you haven't already. And if you have already, you can take tomorrow's time to think of a fun, creative idea for this assignment. And we look forward to it. Till then, I will see you for the next masterclass. Have a great day and a great